He sat alone in the corner booth, stirring his black coffee with the same precision he once used for everything else. The waitress called him Gramps, and the truckers ignored him completely. But the young soldier sitting 3 tables away couldn't stop staring at the faded scar that ran from his temple to his jaw, and the way his eyes never stopped scanning the room. Welcome to Silent Heroes. Before we begin this story of shadows, precision, and forgotten legends, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be remembered, hit that subscribe button. Every Tuesday at exactly 6 a.m., Frank would walk through the glass doors of Murphy's Diner. Same table in the back corner, same black coffee, same untouched newspaper folded beside his cup. He wore simple clothes, dark jeans, a gray sweater, and weathered boots that had seen more miles than most cars. The regulars knew him as the quiet guy who left good tips and never caused trouble. What they didn't know was that Frank's steady hands, the ones that never shook when he lifted his coffee cup, had once held a different kind of precision tool, one that could change the course of battles from over a mile away. Sergeant Riley, a young sniper on leave, had been coming to Murphy's for a week. Combat stress had made sleep impossible, and the early morning diner runs helped calm his mind. He'd noticed Frank immediately, not because the older man stood out, but because of how he didn't. The way Frank positioned himself to see all exits, how his peripheral vision tracked every movement, the subtle way he assessed threats that weren't there. Riley had learned to spot these things in training, but seeing them in civilian clothes, in a peaceful diner, was unsettling. Then he saw the tattoo. Just a glimpse when Frank reached for sugar. A small mark on his wrist that made Riley's coffee cup freeze halfway to his lips. It wasn't decorative. It was a unit designation, one that officially didn't exist. Riley approached carefully. "Excuse me, sir. That mark on your wrist? I recognize the symbol." Frank's eyes met his, calm but measuring. "Do you now? Sniper, right? Long-range reconnaissance?" Frank set down his coffee with the same controlled motion. He did everything. "Among other things, you? Current active. Second tour." Riley paused. "Mind if I sit?" Frank gestured to the empty seat across from him. They sat in silence for several minutes. 2 soldiers from different generations, connected by something civilians would never understand. "How many confirmed?" Riley asked quietly. Frank's answer came without pride or shame. "Stopped counting after the first year. Wasn't the number that mattered. What did? Coming home, bringing the team home." Frank stirred his coffee again. Every shot that didn't have to be taken was a victory too. Riley nodded, understanding the weight behind those words. In the sniper community, the hardest shots weren't always the ones you took. Sometimes they were the ones you didn't. "You having trouble sleeping?" Frank asked, reading Riley's exhaustion easily. "Some. The transition back is harder than expected." Frank reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, worn notebook. He slid it across the table. Distances, wind calculations, environmental factors. But more importantly, he tapped the back cover. Reasons why each shot mattered. Write yours down. Both kinds. Riley opened the notebook. Pages of meticulous notes in Frank's precise handwriting, but also something else. Dates, locations, and brief descriptions of lives saved, missions completed, teammates protected. You kept a record, not for glory, for perspective. When the nightmares come, you need to remember the why, not just the what. Over the following weeks, Riley returned every Tuesday. Frank never shared war stories or dramatic tales. Instead, he talked about precision, not just in shooting, but in thinking, in choosing when to act and when to wait. Anyone can pull a trigger, Frank said during one of their conversations. The skill is knowing when you shouldn't, and if you have to, then you make it count. One shot, one purpose, clean, professional, final. Frank finished his coffee. But you carry it forward with honor, not weight. Riley learned more in those Tuesday morning conversations than in months of formal training. Not about technique, he already knew that, but about the mental discipline that separated snipers from shooters, professionals from killers. On their final morning together before Riley shipped out again, Frank made an unexpected gesture. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a photograph, old, creased, showing a younger version of himself with his spotter team. "We called ourselves the Silent Watch," Frank said quietly, "not because we were secret, but because we understood that the loudest victories are often the quietest ones." Riley studied the photo, then looked up at Frank with new understanding. "How many teams made it home because of what you did?" Frank took back the photo gently. "All of them. Every mission. Every deployment. That was the only number that ever mattered to me." Riley left that morning with more than just tactical knowledge. He carried with him an understanding that the true measure of a sniper wasn't in the shots taken, but in the larger mission served. Frank continued his Tuesday routine at Murphy's Diner, still the quiet regular who left good tips. But now there was an empty chair across from him, not waiting for Riley's return, but available for the next young soldier who might need to learn that strength isn't always about pulling the trigger. Sometimes it's about knowing when not to. Some legends are carved in stone. Others are written in silence, carried in the steady hands of those who understand that the most important battles are often the ones no one ever hears about. Frank's story reminds us that heroes don't always wear medals. Sometimes they just wear gray sweaters and drink black coffee, waiting for the next person who needs to learn that precision isn't just about hitting targets. It's about knowing which ones matter. What do you think? Have you ever met someone whose quiet presence suggested a deeper story? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that honor the silent heroes among us.